Okay, so today is June 22nd, 2020. My name is Joshua Lopez, and I'm interviewing Alicia Villalobos for the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Mrs. Villalobos, that this interview will be placed in the Nettie Lee Benson Latin American Collection at the UT Austin Library. If there's anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there's something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting. So I'll ask you a series of 5 questions. Please say, yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree, after each question. There are 2 questions we need to make sure you agree to before we go on. Okay. Because we are not, oh, sorry, I already read that. Voces wishes to archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation at the Benson Library at UT Austin. I'm also working as a partner from the University of North Texas, and we wish to archive your interview as well with UNT Digital Library, Special Collections, and the Portal to Texas History. We will retain copyright of the interview and any other materials you donate. Do you give Voces and UNT Digital Library, Special Collections, and the Portal Texas, the Portal to Texas History, do you give your consent to archive your interview and your materials at these locations?
Yes, I do.
Do you grant Voces copyright over the interview and any material you provide?
Yes, I agree.
Do you agree to allow us to post this interview on the internet, which may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I agree.
So we have many questions in a pre-interview form that we have already filled out. We use that information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voces server. Before we send it to the Benson Library, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members. So that will not be a part of your public file. Your public file will only be accessible at the Benson Library. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at the Benson Library?
Yes.
On occasion, Voces receives requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone number or your email with journalists?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. So then we'll get started with your interview, and thank you again for agreeing to share your experiences of COVID-19 with us today. So if you could just start by just...
Can you give me a minute? I need to get a chair. Can you give me 1 minute?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you see me?
Yes. Okay. So then when you're ready, if you could just start by telling me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I live here in El Paso, Texas. I'm a mother of 3. They range from 12-year-old, 17-year-old, and a 24-year-old. I've been married for 25 years, and right now I'm a middle school art teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years in the Isleta Independent School District here in El Paso, and I love to draw and paint, and that's my passion. I'm an artist. I'm an educator, but I'm also a practicing artist, and um, that's what I love to do. And right now, I'm also continuing a higher education. I'm about to finish my master's degree, hopefully by this semester or this year. And I also my one of my goals is to continue teaching, but in the college level. And I've barely just recently opened up an art studio where I want to continue to practice as a practicing artist, and I want to get better in art techniques and explore different kinds of medium. But I also want to get out there in the community, have my work seen by other people, and also contribute to community groups in the sense that we can have involvement from students of all ages and also adults that want to continue or to learn their art techniques. And even I want to open up, maybe inviting the elderly people to come and take classes or just to learn about art here in the art studio. But my goal is not to stop teaching art and not stop learning art. I want to continue, and I want to contribute to the community in other ways, and I'm sure I'll get there. I'm barely starting, so that's me.
Yes. Um, in addition to the opening of your art studio and your career as an educator, do you have any other businesses or um, any other family projects that you have?
Yes, where I'm a partner with my husband as well as with his brother and his wife, his brother's wife. We're partners. We opened up a uh, restaurant 3 years ago. They're pizza restaurants, and we already have three of them working, and we're owners, and um, we take care of everything, the management and everything that we have to do to keep it going. But yes, we're proud owners of that local business. It's named Sun City Slice, and again we have three of them open already in the past 3 years. So hopefully we'll keep growing, and that's what we do.
So when and how did you hear about COVID-19?
When it was, let me see, it was last year, like in, I'm thinking November, and I've been hearing about it in the news, and well, mainly the news. That's when I heard when I heard about it late last year.
And what are some of the stories you remember hearing about from the news?
That, well, the origins, where it all started. I remember seeing it in the news, and like in November, I think, and I said, no, this is just a virus that's gonna be it's gonna come and go, and it's just hyped up news. But then we kept hearing about it December, January, and then that's when February, when everybody started getting nervous. And for example, in my school district, our superintendent, central office people, our administrators let us know. They told us this virus is something serious. Take precautions, and everybody in my campus had to disinfect every morning. Every morning we would come in and we would get our wipes and Clorox wipes, and I wipe the art tables, and I spray that Lysol, and then I wasn't. It was like in February, but we weren't that serious about staying 6 feet apart and not interacting because I had average 35 students in my class, and those were big bodies, middle schoolers, 13 to 14-year olds, and but the seriousness of it hadn't hit yet until early March when we heard that we might be um, having to stop going to school and having to start the online classes. And it was before spring break, before March 13th, when we started hearing rumors that it was going to get worse. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe we have to be taking these serious precautions, but we said we have to if we need, it's life threatening. And that's when we started hearing about the deaths and about the sicknesses, the testing, and that's mainly it.
Did any of your
Did
students
any of your
ever
students?
ask before any like this before the school shut down? Were they ever curious about COVID, and did they ask
Yes,
teachers or you anything?
yes. I had several students that would come in and they would see me wiping the tables, spreading Lysol before they walked in. I would spray Lysol so they would smell it. And then some of them would tell me, Miss, do you think it's gonna get bad? Do you think we're gonna get sick? Do you think we're gonna die? They were scared. They were scared. Some of them, not all. And I would just tell them, let's wait and see what they tell us, but let's take precautions. Let's do what we have to, um, and let's do our part in keeping safe and also going home and cleaning and also you staying healthy, eating right and taking your vitamins and just doing what your parents tell you and what you're supposed to be doing. But yes, I had a lot of students that asked those questions. They were scared, and some of them were what's the word, like they didn't know what was going to happen, so they were unsure. They were sad when we left for spring break. I could see in their faces that they were like, what's going to happen, like they were scared.
Mm. So what was your initial reaction to all of this? How did you feel?
um at first I was like, again, this is a virus that's going to come and go and we'll be okay. Our city's ready for anything that can come our way. But then I started seeing, I kept watching the news and everything that was happening with the testing and more people testing positive and just everything shutting down and us having to not come back from spring break, but to start teaching online.
Mhm.
And sad. I was sad. I was scared and sad and just hopeful that we would all be okay, that
Mhm.
we would all listen and take the precautions and um, and just take care of ourselves and our families, our relatives, our friends. But that's mainly it. And then when everything started getting worse, more debt, um, stricter mandates from the city, the city ordinances. That's when I started feeling anxious, and I felt anxiety, like saying, what what can I do? This is my family. I need to take care of them. I remember my husband coming home from work, and right away I would tell him, take off the shirt, go wash your hands. take off your shoes. Like I was paranoid for a little bit. And then after a while, I just calmed myself down and said, I can't do this. I need to just pray and be hopeful and myself do my part and keep my children at home and not go out anywhere, only groceries. And even when I went grocery shopping, I would feel anxious. I would see all these people around me, and I would start getting like anxious, and I started getting scared, and I would just walk with my face down, didn't look at anybody, and hope I wouldn't get the virus. But I had to go get groceries and for my family.
Mm. You mentioned earlier some news stories that you were listening to. Do you remember any in particular that stood out to you?
Lately, or
Lately or at the beginning, when you were learning about COVID-19 and it was starting, if there was
yeah,
any news stories that stand out to your in your memory?
um, one of them probably a month ago, we received an email from our administrator, and it said that one of our students had lost his father to COVID, and well, that really hit home, and I was very sad because it's our student from we see him um, every day when we were in the campus, and I imagine what they were going through, and then the worst being that they couldn't be there to bury him or to give him a proper um, funeral how it's supposed to be. Um, and I imagine my student not being able to say goodbye, um, or our student not being able to have that closure, proper closure. I thought about his mother and everything she's going through, having to continue without her spouse. And also, about a week ago, we had I, I believe she was a substitute teacher in the Horizon or East Lake area, and both of her parents passed away. They were elderly people, but she was telling her story in the news how both of her parents were when what everything that they went through and all the anguish that herself and her family went through. You're hoping your loved ones, especially the elderly, keep safe, and but then they have underlying conditions, and it seems more real. Like you say, it can happen to us, to anybody. But those were mainly the ones that that stuck to me, and I cried.
Mhm. You also mentioned a city ordinance. I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, in the beginning, when in March, when they first established closing schools, restaurants. Well, not all restaurants, bars, um, stores. Um, it was unreal because we were like, how are we going to go about our everyday lives, not being able to freely go out and shop for groceries or visit our parents in their home, go to parks. I have children that are in sports, very active in sports, and we their practices, their games were canceled, their season was canceled. Our lives were just turned um, upside down. Like Um, but then again, we see God is our lives. We have to make a decision, sacrifice, and stay safe and alive. And in the first months, they slowly started closing um, places where people would meet, um, small groups and then larger groups. And then when they mentioned that absolutely not going to parks or where people could gather, like church, that was the one that I thought hurt a lot of us, because those of us that have our faith, and our rock is our faith and our belief in God, and not being able to meet in a church to gather and to praise, that really made us feel helpless.
Mm.
And then hearing about, well, mainly those were the ordinances, and for us that we own restaurants, we were very um, we were nervous, because we of course thought about our employees' health. We wanted them to be safe, and we asked them if they wanted to continue working. There were some employees that did not want to continue working, and we told them, you can take your time off whenever you're ready. Come back. If you want to come back, your position is there for you. And there were a couple that did. They decided to take that time off for the safety of themselves and their family. And but we also thought about the the capacity of our restaurant, and only having a restaurant, because it was a dine-in, carry out, and delivery. And when the city ordinances started becoming more strict, we had to just make it into a delivery and carry out. So um, thank God people like our products and our food, and we stayed open. And but we did have to think for the think what was best for our employees, and just had our rules, our regulations. They had to come in with their masks. They had to check their temperature, and if the managers noticed that they had a fever, they had to leave. And they couldn't continue working. Also sanitizing the everything, our countertops, our the doors, everything that's exposed. Our employees had to sanitize every hour. So a lot of things that we had to, as owners, we had to think about staying safe for our employees and as well as for our customers. Um, the least contact that they could have with our employees is just handing the product to them, and or we had curbside. We could take out the product out to their car. Our employees wear masks and gloves.
Mm. So it seems like there were a lot of disruptions for you and
Yes,
the people around you and the people that you care about.
yes. A
Um,
lot. It was hard because, especially like our little ones, our kids, they had to get used to staying at home and not doing what they usually do. Their everyday routines, their school, their practices, their games, their being with their friends. That was hard. That was hard for them and for us as parents. But we kept busy. We kept, you we did um, productive activities, and even, and you know what, I honestly um, believe that it did bring us more together, because we spend more time together. We slowed down. I think we all of us were living a fast pace life, and forced us to slow down and value our loved ones, value our what we have. our home, our health, um, value our relatives, um, value our community. So for some part, it was productive, not productive, but it taught us. It has taught us to appreciate
Mm.
many many things.
You mentioned that your kids are very active and that you found activities to do. What were some of the things that you all did together, especially for them, like since they're so active and in sports? Like, how did
Well,
they? Yeah.
stay active. Well, we not gardening, but yard work. Um, my middle child, he's a teenager. He's 17, and he fixed up our um, porch, converted it into a gym,
Mm.
and he's working out, and he invites the little one who's 12 to come, encourages him to work out, to do um, some workouts with him. They also have a ping pong table. They play ping pong matches. Um, my my smaller one, my 12-year-old, um, got his baseball gear, his his bat, his batting net, his everything, and he practices outside in our backyard. Um, I got a telescope, and I've always wanted a telescope. And at nights we would go out, 10 at night, we would go outside and just look at the stars. We actually saw the moon. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh, that was an experience. I loved it. What else? Walks. We would take evening walks, walking our dogs more. My husband, he works very hard. He's a contractor and also the business owner. He's I could say he's the head of the businesses, plus his own construction business. And he would come home, and even though he was tired, and I would ask him, "Let's walk with me." And before he wouldn't, and he's like, "Yes, let's go walk." So that we would walk and we would talk, and we bonded more. Um, Art activities at home. Uh, my younger son also likes to draw and paint, so both of us are there. At home, we're also painting, we're also creating, and then we come to the art studio now. But those are some activities that we would do at home. Fixing up the house to a certain capacity, right, or to a certain extent, not a whole home improvement, but just little things that we noticed that weren't taken care of before, and now we had time, and now we could do things more calmly, um, and appreciate each other.
Mm. What are some of the art activities that you all did together, or any art activities that you're working on now?
Well, we started at home. My younger son and we did. I started painting some stepping stools for my mother for her yard, and I still need to complete those. But I started that. I my son um, painted some Vans shoes for a relative. Painted a cell phone case. What else? For me, I did a lot of. I started and worked on activities for my students because I did teach online starting April 13. And every week I would give them daily activities and um, freestyle activities that they could work on. I painted some face masks. Um, I painted on some stationary um, displays that I have. What else did I do? Just drawing, and then here at the art studio, I'm painting some signs for the restaurants that say we're open. Um, I also want to paint murals in my studio that depict what this studio is. A studio for creation, a studio for to inspire not only me because that's who I want to start with, but I want to invite my colleagues to come and have a place to be create and share ideas. And then later on, God willing, all this COVID can come down and I can start inviting students or I can give classes to whoever would like to learn about art techniques, visual art techniques.
How was it transitioning to teaching art online?
Um, I love to teach art. I love art. I love to share um, information to anyone, young, old. I love to teach people about the history of art, the techniques of art, what medias that I know I explored. Uh, so the sharing part, I one of my colleagues shared some ideas of daily lessons, and I said I need to do this because it makes it easier for the students. And I didn't want to give them hard projects. I didn't know what they were going through at their home or if they had the materials. So every Monday it was called Mind Blowing Monday, and I would upload a YouTube video of an artist. I chose a artist every week, a famous artist or a local artist. And on Tuesdays it was Traveling Tuesdays. So I would upload a map. That way they could have like a sense of area where that artist grew up, was born, or practiced their art. And then Wednesdays was mine, Word Wednesday. We would analyze a word, explore how that word tied to the artist's style. Thursday was just Throwback Thursday. We would finish work that wasn't completed, and Friday was Freestyle Friday. So I would ask them, you could do a painting, you could do a sculpture, you could do a food art that what is inspired by a certain artist. So for me, that wasn't it was easy because I wanted to share that information with them, but then they didn't grasp it the way I understood it, because perspective is very subjective. No, like my ideas are subjective to my students. I could learn them or understand them a certain way, and they won't get it, or they will get it. So the hard part was them understanding what a freestyle Friday was,
Mm.
and they would do they would copy another type of art like a Disney character, and I said, guys, try to come up with your own ideas, but inspired by this artist. So most of them got it, and some of them didn't. But I gave them credit; they tried. So, and then every Tuesday we would have like this. We would have a video conference, and I would talk to them like from 1 to 2:30, and about 20 of them would come on the video chat, and some days it was less, some days were more, but I liked seeing them, and I would ask them first, how are you, how do you feel, how's everything going, how's your family, is there anything, like, are you having problems, or do you need anything? And no, everything was okay, most of them. And then yeah, they would show me their projects like right here. They would say, "Look, Miss, what I did," or they would upload them. But I used Google Classroom, not Zoom. So a lot of them would upload their projects, their drawings, their paintings, and I liked it because everybody else saw it, and we would all talk about it in the video conference, and it was an interaction. We didn't lose the interaction, but it wasn't the same because we weren't in the classroom. And being in the classroom is so, I could tell they would walk into the classroom and they felt like free, like they felt like, I'm in art. Like a lot of them loved going to art. And some didn't show emotion, some of them didn't like art, but oh well.
So, what role do you think having art while taking classes from home played?
I think it kept the curiosity, it kept the motivation of creating. I had students that would, when online teaching finished, they asked me, Miss, are you going to keep posting activities so that we can keep learning about artists, about techniques? And I, yes, I will. I'll keep posting. I want to learn too. I want to keep. I believe an educator never stops learning. Never. We never stop learning. A true educator always wants to keep learning, always wants to grow, always wants to help, always wants that other person to become experts on what they love. But I think it was very important for us to continue that contact with them, and I really appreciate administrators letting us give lessons and letting us be important, because they could have said no, only the core subject, only science, math, and all the other fine arts and PE, and you don't have to. But I it was work. It was work, because I had to think about what else am I going to teach them, what's next. It was work, but I thank I thank the administrators that they acknowledged us as being important for the students. Art, for art and PE and all the fine arts.
Mhm. So I know we're in summer now, and there's news in Texas about how to continue moving forward for public schools. Um, what is the plan to move forward, and how does art or how do art classes figure into that plan?
As far as we know, we've been told by our superintendent and our central office administrators that we will be teaching online some days, and then some of the other days will be um, in person classes. But they also told us that we would have less students in the class, and we would have to follow the ordinances, the face masks, um, disinfecting, and 6 feet apart. I don't know how that's gonna work, honestly, um, but that's, and then we're also going year round. We were a district that was traditional. We would start school in August, the last days of the last week of August, and we would only have, let me see, we would only have November, we would have 1 week off, December for the holiday, December 2 weeks off, holiday, and spring break, March 1 week off. And of course, like Veterans Day, one day, and Memorial Day, one day. But now we're going year round, and we're also the other districts that have that are so coral. district here in El Paso, and also El Paso district. I think all the districts are going to start year round. So that would mean we would start the last week of July, and then we would have 2 weeks off in October, 1 week off in November, 2 weeks off in December, 2 weeks off in March, and then finish school the first week of June. So I like that. I've always wanted to be year round. So that's a good news for us. But as far as teaching half hybrid, I guess they call it hybrid, part online and part in person, I maybe it would be beneficial as well. I don't know. I'm thinking positive, and I'm thanking that at least we get to be there in person and being with our students. Um, but then I also think about I get a little bit scared of being there in person for my health and for my coming home to my family. But it's something, it's a decision that is going to affect us, because I've heard that there's teachers that are not going back. If they ask us to be there in person, they're saying that they're not going back. But as far as me, I do want to go back, I'm okay with teaching online. It gives me a break from the attitudes, a little break from the teenage attitudes. I can cool down and I can recharge my battery and not lose my rhythm.
That's good. And and so the plan is like for most fine arts as well, they'll continue as normal.
All of us, it'll be all of us. It'll be fine arts, it'll be the core classes, PE. Um, I wonder how the counselors are going to um, arrange or set up which students go how many days, or how many students in the class, or I wonder, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. We have to. We're always flexible, and we always have to um, come up with ideas.
So what
We
kinds
can't
of,
quit.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Um, I don't want to interrupt you, this little
No,
delay.
it's okay.
But I was wondering what kinds of concerns or questions about healthcare have emerged as a result of COVID-19?
My concern is if I get sick, that I have to go to the doctor or some type of surgery. That's one of my concerns. What would happen? Like, I hear all this information in the news and about them being very strict of having relatives with you, or or you're concerned that you're there in the hospital, and they're not taking the precautions that they have to. Um, those are some of my concerns, and that will be exposed myself, and then I'll expose my family. That those are my concerns, because it's real. Like, you in the back of your head, you're like, no, it's not. It can happen to us, but it's real. It can happen. And what steps would we take how our world would turn upside down, how we would have to deal with many difficult times, like all these other families that have been facing that. That's my biggest concern: getting sick, getting an emergency, something that would happen to me or my husband, having to go again to the hospital or a type of a surgery. Um, that's a little bit more serious, but hopefully not.
I was reading an article about like what to do if someone in your family has COVID-19,
Mhm.
and the article asked readers to think about creating like a plan with your family, like how to do it. And I was wondering, have you and your family, or like you and your husband, talked about like what would you do if someone in your family had COVID-19?
We've talked about it, and we mentioned that, let's say if I have it, they have to I'd have to quarantine, and they can go um, be with my either my daughter that lives on her own, or with his mother, or with his brother, or but first before that we can hopefully quarantine like in separate parts of the house before we take it that drastic and move out of the house. um, that was our first thought first. How can we separate from each other first at our house, and be apart from each other, and clean everything, disinfect, and having to um, let's say my husband gets it, he has to take care of his own self, and I wouldn't be able to assist him in any way. But then to, if I get it, them moving, staying with somebody else in our family,
Mm,
so they won't be exposed.
mm,
Those are our options that we have so far. I
mm.
don't think, I don't know. We have to go to a hotel. I don't know. But if it were comes to worst, maybe, I don't know. But I hope we don't get there. We don't have to. But we have talked about it.
Mm. Did you designate like a room, like this room would be the quarantine room?
Uh, I would say we didn't designate one, but I would say our room, my husband and I, it's bigger. It has a bathroom. Um, it's a bigger space, so that would be it. It's close to the main door. Oh, it's away from the other rooms. There's three other rooms, and ours is away from it. So I think that would be the best one,
Mm.
the best option.
Cool. So are you a part of any organizations, either at school or out in your community?
In my school, I'm part of as an art teacher. I'm part of a Isleta Art Teacher Association, and for our state, we have a Texas Art Visual Art Association. So that's a state. That's for the state, but for locally, I'm with the Isleta district for where I work. Um, that just those two.
And has COVID-19 kind of disrupted those organizations in any way, or do you all continue to meet?
Well, it has, as far as locally, because as far as our district association, our Isleta Art Teacher Association, we were supposed to have uh, summer trainings. We have to take about um, 4 6-hour courses that enrich us in that area, workshops, and these are hands-on workshops. I was going to take some workshops in ceramics and printmaking, painting, and they were to start in June and July, and they canceled them because we can't be in contact with people. And well, we can, but with our face masks, and they thought it was going to be too it was going to make some people didn't show up with masks, or what if they weren't taking the precautions. So it was, I did cancel those workshops for us, for our teacher association. As far as the Texas, the state association, it didn't affect us because that one mainly we communicate through internet, through online. So that doesn't affect that one didn't affect us that much.
Yes. So I know we talked about your work as a teacher, um, but I was wondering how else did COVID-19 impact your work at your pizza place and the art studio that you're opening?
For our pizza place, uh, it did affect us in a way that some employees chose not to be working for us during that period, and we did have to interview, hire other people, um, and also just making sure, supervising that they are following the ordinances, wearing their masks, washing their hands, disinfecting, um, and the contact they have with the customers, making sure that we're not a dine-in yet. So if some customers want to, because we have booths, but we kind of like um, we put some, I guess we designated them to not be for use. And some customers want to sit down and eat, and our employees let them know that we're not dining, where we didn't, we're not allowing dining yet. And some of them do get a little bit upset and leave. And but it's just making sure as an owner that all that is um, being followed, and then for them, having us being that support for them to know that if there was a problem with a customer, or with another employee, let them know, look, this is what's supposed to be done. It right now is mandated. We have to follow it, or we'll be fined $500 if we don't follow that. Every day if we don't follow the ordinances. So those are mainly the situations we're going through right now, as far as the restaurant, the pizza restaurant, and as far as the art studio, it's not a lot of a problem right now because it's just a space for me to continue my learning of art technique, and exploring of different media. So I don't have any students here. I don't have customers. I don't have. There's no in and out interaction. It's just myself, my family that come, and so that's mainly it. My art studio is not a business right now. It's a space for me to um, practice as an artist.
And how would you describe the role that the studio plays for you during this time?
It helps me. It's a place where I know I can keep growing as a professional. Um, it's a space where I can come and not be at home thinking about negative things. I mean, at home, I love being at home. I love that time that I get to be um, taking care of my home physically, um, cleaning and maintenance. But I also need time for me. I need a personal time. I need time to to just let my mind grow and let my mind think about other issues and hopefully with my art I can express what I feel, what's going on, um, the issues we're going through, and then later I can, like I tell you, later when we can maybe I can open it up to students or to people in the community that want to learn about art. Maybe we can explore the community issues together, and who knows, maybe there's some artists with definitely more knowledge than me that can help me um, have that contact with other individuals in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and we can maybe do more projects or come up with projects that we can help each other, network more, um, get and get known, not get known, but get to know more people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had thought about having an art studio at home.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was going to add another room, help me get it established there at home. But then I said no because I don't think I would get to it as much as because of my house duties, because of my having to do what I need to do at home. And here I can drive and come over here and actually get away, physically get away a little bit, and and um, focus on what's my thoughts and my creativeness.
Cool. Um, how, if at all, have the current social movements, um, in conjunction with COVID-19, have they impacted your daily life?
Um, I'm not involved in movements. I'm not. You know that I did think about there was a, I don't know if they canceled it or if it still went on. Our a movement for Pride Month at um at our city. What was it called, downtown at City Hall, I think. And I honestly wanted to go. I did. I saw it and I said, I can go and be there. But then I got scared because I thought about all the masses and the people and having some of them weren't wearing, might not be wearing masks, and in other words, I think COVID kept me from going. But I really wanted to go. I saw it in the news and I said I want to be there. I want to go, and I did it because of COVID. COVID kept me from going. And I don't know if it went on though. I don't know, but that was one of them. And then as far as hearing about the police, the what's it called, the movement with Black Lives Matter and our local police. And I was watching in the news there was a graduation in the Chihuahua Stadium, the baseball stadium, Southwest Park Stadium,
Mhm.
and I saw the students graduating, and then there were people protesting outside of the stadium, and I was like, it's happening. It can't go away. And the students are gonna remember that in their graduation there was a protest against uh, racism and discrimination. So mixed feelings. I'm glad there's people that are protesting and passively, but then I feel upset and worried about those that are not passive and are being abused, are being what's the word? Are harming and are being um, violent against our police department. I have family relatives that are part of the El Paso Police Department, and I worry about them and I think about them. I pray that nothing happens to them, nothing bad happens to them. But it's something that's happening. It has. It, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I just it's important. I'm not for the violence and the believes that our all cops are all policemen are evil. I'm not for that. Um, but I am for equal rights and stopping the belief in racism, and discrimination.
Mm. The event that you mentioned that you wanted to go to, did you say it was a pride event?
Hmm. Yes.
And what motivated you or interested you in in that um, in that
Um,
event?
well, first of all, I believe um, we all have a right to express ourselves, and we all need to show our support for each other. And first and foremost, because of my daughter, to show my support for her. And second, I have friends that their children are transgender, um, and and we've shared um, a lot of situations where, as parents, we want to be there for our children. And this was an event that I said I need to go show my support, and mainly that's to support my child and to support my friend and her child and all the other my relatives and all the rest of the people that deserve to be heard, that deserve to be treated um, justly, and that's mainly because in years I I didn't want to like or not that I didn't want to, but it wasn't an importance as much. Like I didn't want to understand it, why the movement is so important and why we all of us need to be supported and acknowledged. But I guess through the years and through personally loving them, I understand it now. So hopefully I can go next time.
In because you mentioned COVID and the danger to public health,
Mhm.
was there any way big or small, that you feel like you did voice your support for Pride this year?
Yes, I have a Facebook, and I show my support through Facebook, through the social media, and um, I share it. I acknowledge it. I support the Pride movement in that way, and mainly because June's Pride Month, so but it should be all year round, forever and ever.
So I think this brings us to the end of our interview, but is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about?
um, I just feel that all of us have the responsibility to stay safe, to take care of each other, to not judge, to first hear the information and um, and support any kind of movement, any kind of or people that are going through difficult times. Not judge, not because of a not judge because of any circumstance. Just say, we're here. What do you need? Do you need my moral support? Do you need economic support? Do you need spiritual support? I think if we all think that and really live it, this would be less difficult, and and just and just stand together and be patient. We do need a lot of patience through this time, and help our future generations, give them that solid base where they can feel they matter and that they gonna make that difference to me myself, but then the younger generations, um, they can make a difference as well and voice their thoughts, voice their concerns, and really for them to understand that we all matter, we all are important. We're no less, we're not more than anybody, especially again because we're going through this difficult circumstance. We should even be more united, and that's mainly it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you sharing everything that you did.
My pleasure, and thank you for listening to me, and I hope my experience and my words can help other people or future generations when you see all this, what's going to be in this project, what's going to be heard and written and seen, it is going to really change our not only our city, our nation, but our world. Thank you.
Thank you.